I'm Cris Dush, and I've got my grandpuppy here, Gage, and we're going to read a story to you, The Best Nest. This is a story about being content with what you have. Mr. Bird was happy. He was so happy he had to sing. This was Mr. Bird's song. I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world, my nest is the best. Then Mrs. Bird came out of the house. It's not the best nest, she said. I'm tired of this old place, said Mrs. Bird. I hate it. Let's look for a new place right now. He looks a little startled. So they left the old place to look for a new one. This place looks nice, said Mr. Bird. Let's move in here. You see the little hole in the tree? But somebody else had already moved in. You had a raccoon in there. So they looked at another house. This one looks nice, said Mrs. Bird. And there's nobody in it. You're wrong, said Mrs. Bird. This house belongs to a foot. Don't leave your shoes outside. They might build a nest in it. So they went on looking. I like this one, said Mr. Bird. It has a pretty red flag on the roof. Do you know what that is? I've always wanted a house with a flag, said Mrs. Bird. Maybe this place will be all right. But it was not all right. I guess I made a mistake, said Mr. Bird. The mailman came and put the letters in the mailbox. It's not a good place for a nest. You make too many mistakes, said Mrs. Bird. I'm going to pick the next house. And here it is, right here in the steeple of a church. They flew in. They looked around. Isn't it too big, said Mr. Bird. I like this big place, said Mrs. Bird. This is the place to build our new nest. They went right to work. They needed many things. To build their nest, first they got some hay. They got some soda straws. They got some broom straws. They got some sweater string. They got some stocking string. And they got some mattress stuffing. These people are a little surprised, I think. They got some horsehair. The horse doesn't look too happy. They got some man hair. Soon they had all the hay, all the straw, all the string, all the stuffing, all the horsehair, and all the man hair they could carry. They took it all back to build their nest. Mr. and Mrs. Bird worked very hard. It took them the rest of the morning to finish their nest. This nest is really the best, said Mrs. Bird. I want to stay here forever. Mr. Bird was very happy too. He flew to the top of his house. He sang his song again. I love our house, I love our nest. In all the world our nest is the best. He was so busy singing, he didn't even see Mr. Parker coming. Every day at 12 o'clock, Mr. Parker came to the church. Mr. Parker came to pull a rope. The rope went up to the bird's new nest. The rope rang the big bell right under Mrs. Bird's nest. Bong, bong. She looked startled. Mrs. Bird got out of there as fast as she could fly. Bong, 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 bong. When Mr. Bird came in, all he could see was a mess. A mess of hay and string and stuffing and horsehair and man hair and straws. Where was Mrs. Bird? I will look for her until I find her, said Mr. Bird. He looked high. He looked low. He looked everywhere for Mrs. Bird. He flew all over the town. Where do you think she went? He looked down into a chimney, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. He looked down into the water barrel, but Mrs. Bird wasn't there. Then he saw a big fat cat. There was a big fat smile on the fat cat's face. Oh no, there were plenty of brown feathers near the fat cat's mouth. Mr. Bird began to cry. Oh dear, he cried, this big fat cat has eaten Mrs. Bird. Mr. Bird flew off. I'll never see Mrs. Bird again, he cried. It was getting dark. It began to rain. It rained harder and harder. Mr. Bird could not see where he was going. Crash! Mr. Bird bumped into something. It was his old house. That old house that Mrs. Bird hated. I'll go inside, Mr. Bird. I'll rest here until the rain stops. Mr. Bird went in, and there was Mrs. Bird. She was sitting there singing, I love my house, I love my nest. In all the world, this nest is the best. Oh. You here, gasped Mr. Bird. I thought you hated this old nest. Mrs. Bird smiled. I used to hate it, she said, but a mother bird can change her mind. You see, there's no nest like an old nest for a brand new bird. She laid an egg. And when the egg popped open, the new bird thought so too. That's a happy ending to the story. She's learned to be happy with what she has, and we all should do that as well. I hope you guys enjoyed your time. Thank you.